Hey, hey. Really the only thing that gon' be normal is distribution. Normal folks gon' infuse some. Optimize your lineups and you feed the rest, you mute them. Turning it up, these numbers are loud. Peeping this game from a nimbus is wild. Making it rain. While I embrace all this risk, I'm insane. Talking about that best bell, I'm the best rest till into the next world. Guess I got next still. Best bell, I'm the best rest till into the next world. Guess I got next still. Hey, hey. Really the only thing that gon' be normal is distribution. Normal folks gon' infuse some. Optimize your lineups and you feed the rest.
Welcome to the BestBell Fantasy Football Podcast and live stream. I'm Bradley Stalder at FF Stalder on Twitter, and tonight I'm going to be getting into some of the key waiver wire pickups for this week, week number 12. Yeah, I know, we're almost there. It's Thanksgiving week. In a couple days, we'll be eating turkey, hopefully with some family, stuffing our face with stuffing, and also lounging back in the couches, watching some Thursday football games. It's going to be a lot of fun. Lots of family time, lots of great traditions. And also, this is the time where you can make a tradition of winning in your fantasy leagues and lineups. So make sure you guys are checking out this channel. There's a lot of great content that's been posted already, and also some more that's going to be growing and expanding over the next couple months. I'm really excited for y'all to be joining into this community. So if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you guys are smashing that red subscribe button. Appreciate all you in advance. The first player that you need to be adding for week number 12 is Zack Shanet. And now in most of your leagues, he's added already, but some of you may be in leagues where you just need to unload the fab, like just drop the fab. Okay. Zack Shanet set a season high with 15 attempts, went 15 for 47. Yeah, not super efficient, but with Kenneth Walker with an ambiguous oblique injury, the reports from Pete Carroll are ominous. The initial report for Kenneth Walker is that he's not going to end up on the injured reserve. However, the Seahawks are going to be doing more testing, so you need to be making Zack Shanet a priority, not only because he's going to be getting the rushing volume, but because each of the last 2 weeks, Zack Shanet has 5 and 6 targets. So he's getting the carries, he's getting the targets, and this offense for the Seattle Seahawks needs to get things going. Like, they're not sure if Jackson Smith and Jigba is going to be a meaningful player. Obviously, Tyler Lockett's been dealing with injuries. He's been questionable over the last few weeks, and DK Metcalf has dealt with his own injuries. So this offense is looking for a spark plug, for somebody to get it going. And Shanet, remember, second round pick, 4.53 speed, 6', 214 out of UCLA. This was a transfer. And so Shanet gets the opportunity. He also has the draft capital and the talent profile to fit a possible league winner. We talk about league winners all the time. Oh, this player can be a league winner. This player can be a league winner. Zack Shanet fits the profile of being a league winner as long as Kenneth Walker is out. So we'll be monitoring this situation, but Zack Shanet is the type of player that you need to be unloading your fab on, because we don't know what's going to happen. And when there is uncertainty, that's where the bold can win and win big. And Shanet offers a pathway to being a big-time winner, given his involvement in this offense and his talent profile. So let's get ourselves some Zack Shanet. If you want to trade for him too, perhaps people are undervaluing him in trades and thinking that, oh, he's just another handcuff running back. No, this is a player that played very well last year and out of UCLA and caught passes. And so that game is translating to the NFL level, whereas we saw last year and even parts of this year, Kenneth Walker's game in the passing game was not translating to the NFL level in the way that Zack Shanet is. So even if Shanet is relegated back to part-time player, if Kenneth Walker goes back, he may just have a bigger role and especially a safer role in the passing game moving forward. So let's get some Zack Shanet on our roster. This is a player that has a pathway to big time opportunity and fantasy point scoring. So get him on your roster. The next player you need to be picking up is wide receiver Jaden Reed. Jaden Reed, yeah, he's played very well, almost a 70 PFF receiving grade on the year, 1.82 yards per route run. And it seems like he's always getting some fantasy points some way, somehow, whether it's manufactured rushes, whether it is the targets. 3 of the last 4 games, Jaden Reed, at least 5 targets. And he's coming off of 2 games with 84 and then 46 receiving yards. He had the touchdown in week 10 against Pittsburgh. He ran 34 pass snaps and ran 33 routes of those pass snaps. So he was out there pretty much just running routes. It's clear that it's him and Dontavian Wicks, and something's just not right with Christian Watson. I don't know if it's Jordan Love just is not looking his way, or the coaching staff is not scheming the ball Christian Watson's way. But Jaden Reed, it has the role that we thought Christian Watson would have, and then some, right? We thought Christian Watson would get 5, 6, 7 targets in the game, but it's Jaden Reed who's had 5, 6, 7, 5, 2, 4, 6, 3, 5, 5 targets, right? 48 targets on the year through 10 games, nearly 5 targets per game. That's pretty good. And he's coming down with 2/3 of his targets. Christian Watson is not doing that. So Jaden Reed, the 5'11", 187, 4.45 speed Michigan State Spartan, was the second-round selection, just like Christian Watson, only a year later. So Jaden Reed is clearly carving himself out a pretty significant role, and he's playing mostly out of the slot, which means that his spot is going to be pretty safe. And we've seen over the last 2 weeks, 25 and nearly 35 pass snaps. He's carved out himself a pretty big role, even with Luke Musgrave in this lineup. So Jaden Reed is a player that you need to be picking up. He has flex appeal week in, week out, especially with the Green Bay Packers playing catch up in a lot of these games. Jaden Reed coming down with a lot of passes. So pick up Jaden Reed as a flex consideration moving forward. And also Jordan Love just seems to have a lot better chemistry with Jaden Reed than he does with a lot of the other receivers. We talk especially about Christian Watson. But Jaden Reed, you need to be picking up here in week number 12. Now, if you're desperate for tight ends, Isaiah Likely is an option. Now, we have concerns about Isaiah Likely because there's a lot of reasons we have concerns, but Isaiah Likely is a player that if you need a pulse at tight end, he's going to get some more work. He ran a season-high 29 routes on 33 pass snaps last week with Mark Andrews out. Andrews most likely out for the season. However, there were reports today that Mark Andrews may be returning. He has an outside chance at the end of the season to be making a possible comeback. The ankle injury did not seem as bad based on the medical reports that the Baltimore Ravens received. However, for the proximate future, Isaiah Likely looks to be running all of those routes. The problem is Isaiah Likely is not getting the targets that we want. Only 1 target in that game in week 11 against Cincinnati. And we can even go back to week 1 when Mark Andrews missed and there was 1 target for Isaiah Likely. I think what this means is Isaiah Likely is not going to be the primary target earner or even secondary or maybe even tertiary target earner in this Baltimore Ravens offense. The first read is probably going to be Zay Flowers and or Odell Beckham if Beckham is healthy. So those are the 2 players that are going to be getting targets right away ahead of Isaiah Likely. Now you're thinking to yourself, well, maybe it's Rashad Bateman. I don't think Rashad Bateman is going to be earning that many targets. Maybe it's going to be Nelson Aguilar. Aguilar is not going to be earning that many targets. Both of those guys seem to be either red zone or deep threats and not fitting into the Ravens offense the way that this scheme is fitting. So if there's one major beneficiary in this Mark Andrews injury, it's Zay Flowers. He is a buy low for us in every and any format, especially in PPR. We've seen him hyper targeted with Mark Andrews either out or on the mend. So go get yourself some Zay Flowers. Isaiah Likely, though, if you're looking for a guy with a pulse, there are worse choices than Isaiah Likely. Go get Isaiah Likely. All right. We've known what he did last year, and he was a big producer in college. He had some of the top PFF receiving grades while he was the last couple of years he was at Coastal Carolina. And he has 4th round draft capital, which isn't nothing to his name. So let's get yourself some Isaiah Likely. This may be a late season bloomer, especially if the Ravens want to mix things up, or if they say, what, we've had enough time to work with Likely and we can trust him to run more routes. We'll see if that development can happen under this new offensive coordinator, Todd Monken. Okay. So we've hit on Zack Shanet. We've hit on Jaden Reed. We've hit on Isaiah Likely. And I don't want you to forget about this guy. He's coming off the bye week. You should be picking him up, and that's Demario Douglas. Demario Douglas, 5'8", 192 of the New England Patriots. Remember, 6th round pick from the Patriots. A player that has been schemed touches, and we need to be picking him up because he's projected to be the number 1 receiver, and he has been over the last few weeks. 5, 6, 7, and 9 targets coming off of a week 1 where he had 7 targets as well. 44 targets in 9 games. Yeah, that's 5 targets per game for a player who only started running full complement of snaps 4 weeks ago. We want this guy. 77 PFF receiving grade, nearly a 2.0 yards per route run, and it's only a matter of time before he gets touchdowns, right? Coming off an 84-yard performance against Indianapolis. Yeah, Indy has a susceptible secondary, so what? Like, we want the number 1 receiver who's earning targets on any offense. And Demario Douglas, they're scheming him because Devontae Parker's been dealing with injury. Kendrick Bourne is on the IR. Hunter Henry is being bumped up. So if you need another desperation tight end play, Hunter Henry is that option. So go get yourself Demario Douglas. He's playing very well. They're coming off the bye, which allows more scheming to happen in his favor. And also not only the pass catching, but the rushing too. Demario Douglas has 4 rush attempts on the season, 3 of which have come over the last 4 games. So there's been scheming of touches, whether it is targets or rush attempts. And the Patriots want to get Demario Douglas. They want to get the ball in his hands. Runs 4.4 40. So make sure you are picking up Demario Douglas because the Patriots are going to be involving him a lot more as the season progresses. He is probably a pretty cheap flex. I project him for a median of 10 to 12 fantasy points every week. And if that's what you need, you've been hurting at wide receiver, you've been hurting at the flex spot, Demario Douglas can get you a pretty safe floor with the targets that he's earning in that New England offense. Let's flip the script back to Baltimore, where Odell Beckham Jr. has really stepped up as of late. Okay. Yes, he had the Cleveland game, which was really tough. Only 1 catch for 40 yards, but he had the touchdown, so that bailed him out. But the other 2 most recent games, 7 targets, 5 receptions, 56 yards, and touchdown against Seattle, and 4 catches for 116 yards on 7 targets. And Beckham, a 91.3 PFF receiving grade in that game against Cincinnati. That's not a nothing secondary. That's a secondary that has played tough from time to time. And so Beckham is a buy right now. This is a player that should not be on your waiver wire. And if he's healthy, which he dealt with an arm injury at the end of the Thursday game, hopefully he has enough time to come back. The reality is Odell Beckham can be the deep threat target earner on this Baltimore Ravens team. I talked earlier about how Rashad Bateman and Nelson Aguilar have components of those skill sets, but Odell Beckham is the synthesis of Rashad Bateman and Nelson Aguilar, which makes him the wide receiver that you want with more fantasy upside. Zay Flowers most likely has the higher floor in a PPR sense, but Beckham, you can hit a home run or a grand slam with him in your lineup, and that's why you need to be picking him up. He is the swing for the fences type of waiver wire pickup that you need to not be leaving on your bench. You don't want someone else to have Odell Beckham go off for 20 points. There aren't going to be a lot of other waiver wire options that can exceed 20 fantasy points in a game. And Odell Beckham, if he's healthy, can do that, especially with Mark Andrews' target share now expected to miss a significant portion, if not the entirety of the rest of the season. So pick up Odell Beckham. He's playing well. He looks healthy. As long as he stays that way, he can be a difference maker for you. We're going to stay with another diva wide receiver, but one that has gotten a little bit less attention as of late, and that is Jameson Williams of the Detroit Lions. So Jameson Williams had a touchdown in this game against Chicago. He played a major factor in their comeback. That big-time touchdown played a big difference. And yes, he only has earned more than 3 targets in one game so far, but this is where we are looking a little bit deeper at his participation, right? For only the second time this season, he exceeded 20 pass snaps and ran more than 20 routes. Jameson Williams did that against Chicago, and we're starting to see that ramp up. We take Dan Campbell at his word, and his word weeks ago was that Jameson Williams has some progress to make, and he needs to prove to us that he can be the wide receiver that we want him to be. That's all the few words. And so Jameson Williams has been doing that, right? Over the last 2 weeks, a 67 and 68 PFF receiving grade, and last week, 1.76 yards per route run. He's improving. He's getting better. And this is a very, very buy low, a deep shot. This is Will Fuller 2.0. And we know what kind of offensive upside Will Fuller offered. And now we have this Jameson Williams, who 4.3 speed. This is his first full year back from the ACL tear that he suffered while he was at Alabama, and was a former 12th overall pick. So Jameson Williams is the big boom type of player, only rostered in 17% of your leagues because managers are frustrated. But if you can pick him up, we've seen Josh Reynolds, we've seen Khalif Raymond, Marvin Jones is gone, right? And so it's Amon-Ra St. Brown, it's Sam Laporta, it is your running backs David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs, but Jameson Williams is the deep shot play. And I think he's going to start getting that 4, 5, 6, 7 targets trending upward. We're not going to see it next week, but this is the stash. This is the type of player that you want on your team, and you don't want anyone else, because once he hits, he's going to be staying in your lineup. So pick him up. Jameson Williams has been developing over the course of the season. We've seen him improve as of late, and he's run 18 or more pass routes each of the last 2 weeks. Only once did he do that earlier in the season. And of course, that was the week where he earned 6 targets. So I expected those targets to go up 5 to 8 targets by the end of the season. He's going to eventually earn this role, and we've seen the improvement. And this is what Dan Campbell's going to go back with his coaches and say, let's look at the film. Let's see what JMO's done. And they're going to see that JMO has played pretty well. He got behind some of the defensive players. He played an integral part in them coming back. He becomes more of a trustworthy player for Jared Goff. So Jameson Williams is the play to get on your benches. Pick him up off the waiver wire. Add him for the stretch run, just like how the Lions are going to be trusting him in their stretch run to go into the playoffs. Here's a deep cut. There's a very deep cut. Michael Wilson was out this past week, and it was wide receiver Greg Dortch that stepped up. And you're thinking to yourself, Greg Dortch, yeah, this is wild. He was a last round consideration for me a few times, because when he was healthy last year, and especially with Kyler Murray, Greg Dortch was earning targets. A couple times he had 15, 20 fantasy points. And now with Michael Wilson out, Greg Dortch, 6 receptions, 76 yards on 7 targets. He ran 31 routes on 32 pass snaps, 97% route participation. This was very good. And he played mostly out wide. This 5'7", 175 wide receiver, 76 PFF receiving grade, despite being 5'7" and 175. He was winning on the outside. Wild stuff. But it seems that Greg Dortch has chemistry with Kyler Murray. And as long as Michael Wilson is out, this is a deep cut player that you should be picking up, because we've seen him produce in the past. We've seen him work with Kyler Murray. And if that is the case, moving forward, Michael Wilson being out, if he continues to be out, Greg Dortch is a nice little pop him into your flex spot. He can get you some PPR fantasy points, just like he got you 13.6 this past week in Houston. Okay, we'll keep her moving. Roshan Johnson is a running back that we want to be picking up too. I've been pounding the table for Roshan. We are finally waiting. Is it Roshan season? Is it Roshan season? Maybe now it will be. Donta Foreman still dealing with that ankle injury. Khalil Herbert working his way back. Roshan played a season-high 14 snaps, ran the ball 6 times for 30 yards, 5 yards per carry. He has a 71 PFF rush grade on the season, 2.2 yards after contact per attempt. He's exceeded that, met that, or exceeded that in each of the last 4 games. So this is a player that's been trending up. He is a respectable rush grade, and we've got some more opportunity if Donta Foreman ends up missing time. Khalil Herbert also getting worked back. We will see if that plays a bigger role. But we also can't ignore, what Roshan Johnson has done in the passing game. We've seen 3 different times where Roshan Johnson has 4 or more targets, despite his not being used very often. And he had 2 games of 6 or more targets. Now, if the Chicago Bears are trying to find out their future, it would not surprise me if Donta Foreman gets pushed to the wayside and it's Roshan Johnson mostly near the end of the season with some Khalil Herbert as well. Because Khalil Herbert, as much as we like his efficiency metrics and as well as he's played in his snaps this year, the reality is he was not drafted by this GM and this regime. He's finishing out his contract. Roshan Johnson was handpicked in the 4th round of this year's draft. He wasn't super fast, 4.58 speed out of Texas, but he's a player that is trusted in the organization, has slowly and surely increased his efficiency, and played well and increased his snaps. So his emergence isn't as fast as we've wanted it to be, but this is a player that, once again, if Khalil Herbert, if the Bears say, hey, we don't want any more Khalil Herbert, we know what we got in him, let's find out what Roshan Johnson can do with a big-time role, the opportunity is there, and the efficiency metrics can continue to increase because Justin Fields is back, and Justin Fields keeps defenses honest. This past game, Justin Fields rushed for over 100 yards, and many of those were on designed runs. So Roshan plus increased opportunity leads to increased efficiency metrics as long as Justin Fields is on the field. Yeah, give me some Roshan Johnson, only rostered in about 22% of leagues. This is very good. All right, another one, Rondale Moore. Yeah, so he had disappointing target amount, but he had the big touchdown this week against Houston, the 48-yard touchdown. He only had 2 targets, but against Atlanta in week 10, 9 targets, 5 receptions, 43 yards. So over the last couple of weeks with Kyler Murray, we've either seen the big shots or we've seen the targets. And we'll take whatever we can get from Rondale Moore because he was not producing for the first 9 weeks of the season. Finally, Kyler comes back and we see him breathing life into Rondale Moore. Moore playing primarily out of the slot, 53 and 65% of slot snaps over the last 2 weeks. So Rondale Moore, pick him up as a flex consideration as long as Kyler Murray is running this Arizona offense, which it looks like he's back. He's healthy. He's ready to roll. Kyler Murray has been a top 13 quarterback each of the last 2 weeks. As Kyler gets even more comfortable in this offense, continue to pick up Rondale Moore and see if we can get some more consistency from him. However, he's a flex consideration every week. Consider plugging Rondale Moore into your lineups, at least 43 receiving yards each of the last 2 weeks with Kyler in tow. So Rondale Moore, 25% rostered. Pick him up in your leagues, especially if you need a flex play. All right, deep cut, Zay Jones, baby. So this is partly Zay Jones and partly I told you so about Calvin Ridley. Zay Jones matters for Calvin Ridley. I've been saying this before all the pundits, before Field Yates, before all the other people said, oh, look at these splits, look at these measures. Y'all can go back. Y'all can go back and see that I was talking about these splits weeks and weeks and weeks ago because of the scheme shift, right? Because Christian Kirk is not pulled off the field as much when Zay Jones is out. When Zay Jones is in, Evan Ingram is also in the slot. Christian Kirk is also in the slot. And there's a little bit of slot rubbing that happens. And then who's the primary target? Calvin Ridley. So Calvin Ridley also has had some nice matchups for sure. But Zay Jones is a very interesting play because he gets a lot of red zone targets. He just has a nose for the end zone. He's schemed that way. And he's had 2 touchdowns in 4 games. We also saw that he got some other red zone targets that he wasn't able to convert. And it was one of the plays that he injured his knee on, which is why he was out for so many games from week 5 until he returned in week 11. But Zay Jones is there for the touchdowns. And as we see the Jaguars offense get a little bit healthier and a little bit more comfortable, Travis Etienne going to go down. Zay Jones going to go up. Calvin Ridley going to go up. And that's what we can expect from the Jacksonville Jaguars. So Zay Jones is a flex play I don't want you to forget about here as he gets healthier, right? He had 4 targets in this game. He hasn't dropped below 4 targets in any of the games he's played. And that's including the game where he was knocked out against Buffalo in week number 5. So go get yourself some Zay Jones. He looks to be healthy now. He's still dealing with some of the domestic violence accusations and all of that. So you can use your conscience to guide you if that's playing a factor in who you want on your team. I'm not going to judge you if that is a big factor. But Zay Jones, from a stats perspective, is an ad for your flex considerations moving forward. He should not be on waiver wires, so pick him up. He's rostered in only 18% of leagues. Now, some of y'all here are coming here for DST content because I've been crushing with the DST lately. Yeah, I had the New York Giants as a top 8 defense this past week. There was only one ranker who was higher than me on the New York Giants this past week, and they absolutely annihilated the Washington Commanders. So one defense special teams that I want you to pick up for this next week is Denver. Denver gets the Cleveland Browns. Need to be picking them up. The Browns are going to be playing DTR again. And the Browns were barely able to score 13 points against a very questionable secondary. Okay. And here's the thing. Denver has been a top 10 defense in terms of fantasy points each of the last 3 weeks. I'd be very surprised if they don't put that in a 4th straight week against the Cleveland Browns. The offensive line for the Browns has been really struggling as of late. They've been injured a lot. And now with DTR, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, the rookie, getting his 3rd start, we expect, backed up by quarterback Joe Flacco, I think that this is going to be a big-time game for the Denver defense. So get yourself some Denver defense ahead of the waiver rush. These are, I know that the Denver plays the Texans and the Chargers and the Lions. So this is a 1-week pickup, but the Denver DST is one that you should be picking up for week number 12. All right, let's hit it on the comments here. Blue JM, Roshan is a total waste of an ad, in my opinion, even with Foreman out. Look, he's been improving, and that's my reason for adding him. He's been improving, and we want players, especially who are getting more opportunity. And even if Foreman is out, I don't know if he's not a starter yet. We're not looking for that, but we are looking to stash players who may be getting more opportunity late in the season. You just don't want other teams to have these types of players on their teams when you're facing them, and you might be dealing with running back issues yourself. You never know if, like, next week it's Saquon Barkley who gets hurt, or it's Austin Eckler who gets hurt. By the way, did y'all see Austin Eckler? He slowed down in the first quarter of the Green Bay Packers game. He does not look like himself. Something is not right with Austin Eckler. I don't know what it is, but he is a sell in your dynasty leagues for sure. You do not want it. How long is he going to be on the Chargers? We don't know. That's problematic. So do not be bullish on Austin Eckler moving forward. I'm just surprised. We weren't expecting to see Austin Eckler perform so poorly, but here we are. Yikes. Khalil Shakir, I agree. Khalil Shakir is a good ad. This is a player that he had the big reception for the touchdown. But as long as the Bills are playing with just Dalton Kincaid out there, this is making a difference. Khalil Shakir has 4 of his last 5 games with at least 4 targets. 4, 6, 4, 2, and 4. He's had 92, 57, 24, and 115 receiving yards over the last 4 weeks. His yards per route run, 2.24, which is respectable. We want players who are at least 2.0. That's usually a barometer of it. Okay, we can work with that. So Khalil Shakir playing very well so far this year. I think he's clearly earned that wide receiver 3 role behind Diggs and Gabe Davis. He ran 26 routes, which was the 3rd highest of the season, week 11 against the New York Jets. So Khalil Shakir is a player that I think you can be adding as well moving forward. He's fluky, like Gabe Davis is fluky, but you want yourself connected to good offenses. We know the Buffalo Bills are a big explosive offense. And if things break, just like we saw against the Jets for the big time touchdown, the 70-yard touchdown, yeah, we want that. So Khalil Shakir, there we go. I know I'm right about Ridley and Zay Jones mattering. Yes, Ridley and Zay Jones do matter for each other. Their coexistence is something that matters. So make sure you guys are picking up Zay Jones. And as long as he's out there, Calvin Ridley has not let us down like really that much when Zay Jones has been out there. So consider the Zay. And I was ahead of this. Like, y'all can go through my receipts in the videos. You can go through my receipts in the tweets. I'm telling you. So go get yourself some Zay Jones and start your Calvin Ridley as long as Zay Jones is out there. Mark S., is it safe dropping Taz Spears for someone on waivers as a bye week fill in? I'd prefer to just keep stashing Spears. Lord knows if something's going on with Derrick Henry. We just don't know at this point. So give me some Taz Spears. He still holds one of the highest contingent value upside as a running back. He's not only been involved in the passing game, but he's also been really efficient on the ground. So give me some Taz Spears. I'll throw some Taz Spears stats your way just to satiate you, right? Spears 5.2 yards per carry on the season, 3.77 yards after contact per attempt. That is down a little bit over the last couple weeks. He hasn't had more than 3.5 yards per carry, 3.6 yards per carry each of the last 3 games. But still, we like Taz Spears because of all the targets, right? Let me just go through the game logs for you for Taz Spears target-wise, and you'll see that this matters. 4, 2, 4, 4, 5, 1, 4, 6, 4, and 2. So it seems like the mode for Spears is 4 targets. If you're getting 4 targets, it doesn't matter. You're a running back and you're going to get some yards, right? So even though a 1.07 yards per route run is not great, he's had at least 2 yards per route run each of the last 2 weeks. Give me some Taz Spears as he continues to improve as a runner. He might be dealing with something. I don't know. But Spears doesn't have any ACLs. Like, what do the Tennessee Titans have to lose except their 3rd round pick from this year? Derrick Henry, though, not playing particularly well over the last 2 weeks. I think there's been some volume concerns and game script concerns, and not sure how to balance Will Levis's development with just giving the ball and feeding Derrick Henry. I think there was some nice play calling a couple weeks ago with Levis and Henry and just a lot of scripting, but I wonder if that's fallen by the wayside. So we'll see, but I'd rather just hold on to Spears. Yeah. Mark, I have Zach Charbonnet. Is he startable over Josh Jacobs or Aaron Jones? They've been frustrating so far this season. Definitely Aaron Jones. Jones is dealing with a knee injury, and we're waiting to find out the severity of it. Maybe he would be better for this next week, but I would have Charbonnet over Aaron Jones if Kenneth Walker is out. Josh Jacobs, on the other hand, I think it was just a bad game because in the previous games under Pierce, Josh Jacobs was given 26, 27 carries. He set season highs in rushing yards. He got some goal line involvement. The offense was much more consistent. So I think it was just a bad game for Josh Jacobs. So if I were to rank them initially for week number 12, I haven't done the official rankings for week 12, but my initial thoughts about week 12 is having Josh Jacobs, then Charbonnet, and then Aaron Jones is how I'd rank those three for right now. Is Noah Brown worth stashing with the Texans wide receiver core healthy? We'll find out, but I don't think we're starting him until we see that he can exist with Nico Collins and Tank Dell. By the way, Tank Dell officially changed name from Nathaniel Dell to Tank Dell. Good on him. Tank Dell, baby. Rooting for Tank Dell. This remains to be seen for Noah Brown. We're not certain because Noah Brown crushed, but now he's out. He's not been healthy. So we have to be a little bit concerned with Noah Brown because it seemed situational. However, if he can continue to crush, it's going to be hard to keep him off the field if he's healthy. Would you rather have Wilson or Love for a quarterback too? Yeah, give me Russell Wilson. And Jordan Love has been very lucky this year with the touchdowns in the touchdown department because he takes some big shots. Sometimes they fall the right way and sometimes they fall the wrong way. And with the running game struggling, he's dependent upon having his receivers catch balls in the end zone. But Russ has an amazing connection with Courtland Sutton, and Russ has played pretty consistently. One of the better. Russ is one of the more consistent players. He's played very efficiently. So give me Russ Wilson, especially given that they're going to be in a lot more shootouts as of late. I mentioned that the Denver defense is going to have a good game against the Browns. I don't think that Russ is necessarily a good start this week against the Browns, but in week 13 in the Texans game, that could turn into a shootout. The Chargers, obviously, their defense has mightily struggled. The Lions game can turn into a shootout in Detroit. And then you've got the New England Patriots in week 16. That could get ugly for the Patriots real quickly in Denver. And then they get the Chargers again in week 17. Look, this is a real nice spot for Russell Wilson in week 17. So give me Russell Wilson rest of season as quarterback too. Should I trade Charbonnet for Laporta? I lost Andrews. I think that is something you can do. D's nuts. My name is Jeff. Yes, you can do that. I give you permission. You get my blessing. Curtis Samuel let me down this week as a flex. Should I hang on to him because the Commanders love to pass the ball? Yeah, so Curtis Samuel let you down because he was ejected from this game because he ended up fighting in the sideline. It was bad. Only 1.5 fantasy points this week, but Curtis Samuel has had his ups and downs. So I don't know if he's necessarily a start, but he is a flex consideration and has fit in nicely as a flex for a few weeks. So I wouldn't necessarily say that he's a confident start, but there are ways in which Curtis Samuel makes sense as a start in desperate times at a flex position. So sure, that's how I evaluate Curtis Samuel. All right, y'all, this was a lot of fun. Thanks for tuning in. If you found this helpful, make sure you guys are smashing that subscribe button. Appreciate all of you. Make sure you're checking me out on Twitter at FFStalder. Make sure you're going to bestbellfantasy.com on Thursday. On Thursday morning, I'll be updating the rankings. So you can check out bestbellfantasy.com, go to rankings, and you can check out all the stuff there. This is obviously Thanksgiving week, so we'll see what kind of content I can put out for y'all because I'll be traveling this weekend to and from visiting my parents. But it's going to be a great time. Lots of turkey fun, lots of good, all that. So there we go. All right, everybody. Till next time, good luck with your waiver wires for week number 12.
I embrace all this risk, I'm insane. Talking about that best bell, I'm the best till into the next well. Guess I got next still. Best bell, I'm the best till into the next well. Guess I got next still.